Okay Perry. Time to drink up. Sprite is the official drink of Perry Caravello Live. Perry
No,
promised to
thank
never
you.
drink 7-Up again.
No.
Sprite.
No.
Sprite.
You're someone special, you're striving for more. Trying to do things better than before. You're trying harder, you're reaching so tall. You're drinking Sprite and you're giving it your all. You found more in Sprite. You found lime and you found more in you. So you keep on climbing when you're reaching for more. Reach for Sprite when you're reaching for more. Reach for Sprite.
Sad little story on the track today about the things you had that was taken away. I took your mouth,
I took your money.
And I took your land from you big dummy.
back in the day, circa 1992. Perry entered my office and he blew.
When you filled the bank with those spooky little funds I got from mama, I took the money and run.
Last is Kenny, they call me the king. I scammed your land, that's gotta sting. But as told the 7 large, didn't give you nothing, you did it no charge.
So you better wake up, it's plain to see. There ain't nothing you got you can hide from me.
We're coming for you, so watch your back.
We're gonna be on the attack.
Here I goes money, better worry, yo yeah. Here I goes money, better worry, yo yeah.
Heard you drank my milkshake, you know that makes you a gay.
Then I took land right from your hands, 87K.
I love sucking Randy's cock. She's ruining my fucking life. You big ugly dummy.
Thanks for hanging out, guys. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Third SAG Voucher, who sent in the other Randy video song, and I hope he doesn't mind me blowing up his spot, but Third SAG Voucher is actually Steve, who's coming from Australia to visit, and I thought he did a really great job on that tonight, as does Rappin' Randy, of course. So that should be fun. Steve and his girlfriend Jess are going to come all the way from Australia, and we'll be in the apartment. We got to figure out exactly how that's going to go. I know Garrett's going to be there for sure, but that's going to be. And by the way, that I think that might be my favorite Rappin' Randy track to date. The one we just played. Phenomenal job. Grimace, take a bow. As well as everybody else who submitted media shares. And I'm sorry if Perry doesn't always give them their full attention. I try to make sure he does, but I know how much work goes into those, and I can only imagine one of these days maybe Grimace can do a little behind the scenes on how that stuff goes, because man, it just blew my mind. I was looking forward. I saw it that it was in the tank tonight, and I really do look forward to these Rappin' Randy tracks to the point where I want a real album at this point. And by the way, what is the name of the album? I want to know what the name of the album is. I don't know if that's been brought up. Well, Perry's Appeturd for the Australians. I certainly hope so. He does owe it. He does owe it to them. But yeah, just great stuff. Oh, and I gotta say, the Bruce Willis R2-D2 had me dying. Like, that was fantastic. Just so creative. Just when you thought, like, you know, the Bruce Willis thing has been going on for well over a year now, and to find new things about it, it's just it was so goddamn good. It came out of nowhere. Really good. Really good stuff. So bravo to everybody involved. As I said last week, I am gonna take a little hiatus from hanging out after the stream, after hours, whatever you want to call it, just because my schedule is changing, my real work schedule is changing. So That's happening at the beginning of June, which is, well, that'll kick in for me next week. So this will be my last if I'm not going to say I'm doing a whole staying on for a long time, but you know how that goes. But it's going to be my last After Hours for at least a while. I got to take a longer hiatus for that just because of scheduling conflicts. I eventually would like to do, like I've said, something like a PCL podcast where it's me and Garrett and Jim, and we're kind of all talking about, you know, PCL stuff and other stuff, and, you know, get stuck in the weeds and all that other stuff. And I would like to do, hopefully everything's ready. I can't guarantee that it will be, because I do have a habit of talking up things that take longer to come to fruition, but I would like to do launch PCL 3.0, which is going to be like, you know, new graphics, a lot of like, you know, emotes and stuff for both Twitch and YouTube, and just kind of like a brand refresh of like logos and stuff like that. And I would love to say that that'll be ready by July 10th. I don't know if it will. But yeah. So I got a family thing to do in that week in June, which is the week of the 19th. My parents' wedding anniversary is that week, and I know that's going to be a real tough one for my dad. So we're kind of doing a couple of things. Like, I'm seeing my sister and my dad and other people, family, actually at the Jersey Shore. It's not normally something that we do, but my mom's birthday was July 12th, so we're kind of doing like, you know, like a family get together thing, and that'll be over the course of a couple of days, and plus there's kids involved, so there's going to be like rides at the Jersey Shore, so it's going to be very exhausting. It's going to take a long time, and then, you know, just an extra a week to kind of detox and stuff like that. So I hope everybody's cool with that, and you know, I'm sure people. I remember we did one stream our first year on the 4th of July. It actually turned out to be one of the better ones, because it was the one where like flies took over. But I think it's called the Lord of the Flies stream, the actual title. But I remember it being very slow. I mean, Jim can correct me, but I remember like there not being a lot of people. I was actually considering today, since it's Memorial Day, I was like, man, maybe a lot of people won't be around, but you guys were. So thank you. Because I was actually thinking like, oh, maybe we should move it to tomorrow, because it's a thing. Teddy had a T-ball game that was canceled today because the other team didn't have enough players, which is fine by me. Because, you know, a lot of people have thing. I'm sorry, honey, that you lost your dad. Yeah, you know, it's a thing. It's a process. But you know, you go through that first year of especially when you lose a close relative, I should say, where you hit milestones throughout the year, and you know, it's like Mother's Day or Father's Day or a birthday or an anniversary, and then you get into the major holidays like your Thanksgiving or Hanukkah or Christmas, and things that you associate with that person, and it's really it's tough. And then this is what I've heard from other people, then you can, you know, it sort of like reboots itself, and then the year anniversary of that person's passing, you know, hits, and then you can kind of, you know, go into another phase of recovery. But everybody handles grief differently. So I'm sorry, and again, I don't, not that I want to get into the death weeds, because I don't, but I have heard and still continue to hear from people who have sent in emails to Perry Caravello Live at Gmail, or send me a DM on social media, whatever, and they share with me things, very personal things of people who they've lost that were close to them, a parent, you know, in some cases a sibling, and I try to get back to everybody. Some of them write really long things and very personal things, and it really has an impact on me when I read them. And I'm very thankful that, you know, for all intents and purposes, a stranger is sharing that with me. So if I haven't replied to everybody, I apologize. I like to, but people have like shared things like, you know, how they've lost somebody in the, you know, whether recently or not so recently, and you know, their experiences, and and how PCL helps them through certain things. And thanks, Garrett. I love you too. And it was actually very helpful for me. I mentioned this last week, but it was Mother's Day this year fell on the Sunday after our live Pottstown show, and I was with all my bros. I was with Perry, I was with Jim, I was with Garrett and Tony, and I was definitely thinking about my mom that day, but it made it a lot easier being surrounded by people that I care about and like being around. So that was easy. So it's nice to have that. At least Perry can empathize. His friend's dad died, so same thing. I know. It was just the gods were smiling down when they decided to take John D's dad, like literally the same week that my mom passed away. So I could hear all about Perry's mourning process. It was great. How did I like the AI Jesus? That was great too. Well, look, it got Perry to dart away in anger, so that was really good. So yeah, and I know a lot of people have been asking this, I get this too, is the I'm gonna put out a lot of YouTube premieres, especially when we're off for that couple of week period at the beginning of the July. I got a real problem with YouTube on a couple of them because the ones that are uploaded up next have major copyright issues that I still never got a response on, and whether or not they've been appealed and cleared, or others I had to re-edit. It's mainly media share stuff that gets shared. It's just they get so weird with it. Even tonight there was that Tom's Tips media share that Jay-Z Love You submitted, and it was supposed to have music on it. And then what happened, the reason why it didn't play with music is that YouTube had already flagged it because God, I forget the name of the I forget the name of the song, but like YouTube just been so aggressive with that stuff, so it makes it hard. And I have this thing where I want to play them in order, that's not always possible. So yeah, I can't remember exactly what the song was, but it was like they're so weird. Like there's one in the media share that's like one of them. It's an older one that's like on deck to be premiered, and it's just it's Real American, which is Hulk Hogan's theme song from the WWE, WWF, whatever. The song that he would come out to, his big anthem. And there was just a little quick media share with Hulk Hogan doing that, and I fought that with you appeal. You got to appeal every single one. That's the problem. And there's rules to copyright stuff where if it's just a straight, you're playing it for like the stuff I play at the end of the stream, for example. Like if I do Life at the Outpost at the end of the stream, which I don't do anymore, that's flat out copyright. You can't say that's parody. You can't say that's transformed in any way. You're just playing the song. Same with the bathroom breaks. I cut those out obviously when they get re-uploaded. But stuff like the media share stuff, it's really weird. Like it can play for like 12 seconds and it'll get nailed. And as Grimace points out rightly, WWE in particular is really aggressive with copyright. But, it's just a little reaction clip, and I think that should fall under fair use, but it doesn't always do. So anyway, I keep appealing those, and then my other choice is to replace it, like replacement music. And I always hate doing that. That's like a last resort. I've had to do it once or twice, where you just got to go in and play something similar that's has no copyright. It just doesn't have the same impact. I try to honor the media. I really try to honor the media shares the way they were sent in, because it's like when I remember back when like DVDs became a thing where you'd release like full seasons of TV shows, and the problem now, any show really post like mid 2000s has this ironclad already, because if they play any music, they make sure they have all the licenses, including home video. But they didn't do that back in like whether 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so forth. So if you had a show like a classic show like WKRP in Cincinnati was a legendary one that just had loads of copyright issues, could play it on the air on TV in a syndication package, but if you got the DVD, it would, it wasn't on DVD forever because of all the copyright things. And then other shows, they'd release it, but then they would have to replace the music with something really generic, and I always hated that. So I always think of that when I'm trying to get a like an older media share like ready for to premiere on YouTube or something like that, because we have a huge backlog. So it's a pain in the ass, but just know that it's not the fact that there's been no huge premieres lately is not because of laziness. It's just YouTube's a pain in the ass. So that's just the way it goes, unfortunately. So anyway, I hope everybody had a nice Labor Day weekend. I took it easy. I was very much in pain on Friday. The other thing there was the thing where I got hit in the side, and my rib. It felt like I broke some ribs. But in addition to that, I took little Teddy to this parking lot carnival, which he lives for. So I now I have a database of whenever these carnivals come anywhere near us, and we went on this ride that he was definitely too small for last year, but he was big enough for it this year. And it was one of these it looks like a rainbow thing, and it just spins around and around, and it got me so sick, to the point where it really messed me up to the point and I couldn't sleep because I was in pain. So Friday I was really not in a great mood. So I took it easy this weekend. Teddy had a game on Saturday afternoon, and but apart from that, I kind of just chilled out and recouped. But I hope everybody did something fun and they were safe and all that. How fast was that machine pitching? I don't know. I had it set at its highest setting, and it felt like in the 90s. I don't know, but I don't know. It didn't say. I don't know. But it felt really. It felt like I was shot. To be honest. Did I watch any Fish Tank? No, I know about it. I've seen little things here and there about it on YouTube or whatever. But or whatever that's not on YouTube. I don't know. Is it on YouTube? Whatever it is, maybe a Twitter thing, and there's a link to it. I've seen little bits and pieces, but no, I know it's very PCL-ish. It's a PCL with a huge budget. That's a thing. But yeah, so it was comical because if you've been in a batting cage before, you go up. And I thought it was done. I thought it was done pitching. So I was getting up and I was I was being nice. I was picking up some balls and I bent over it. I was not right in front of it, but very close. And it just, boom. It was almost like it was trolling me, the machine. And I saw stars. So, but all better now. Batting cage is over. Never again. PCL is much better than Fish Tank. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Perry was right. Oh, I just got a text from Perry. I guess Perry was writing me at the end saying, "I am shutting off the computer and tough, TUFF, if you don't like it." What is Fish Tank? Somebody asked. Somebody else is better to answer that than me. It's this big It's like a content house that streams 24/7. They got this great camera setup. They kind of run it like I run PCL, where somebody else is controlling it. There's a control room and stuff. It's interesting. I was surprised it's still going. But yeah. So, but I don't watch any large. I've just seen little clips. I don't watch anything. I realize that. I don't watch anything. I watch YouTube, but my algorithm is so messed up now because I was looking into so many credit card things because I was looking to fix Perry's credit and also boost my own, which I'm doing. But because I looked up so much stuff, that's all my YouTube is now. It's hey, how to get bonus points and how to do this. And as much as I feel like I've crash coursed on every one of them, I feel like I'm an expert now in credit. If you want to ask me anything, I'm an expert now in credit cards and credit. I just don't need to see these anymore. And that's how YouTube works. You search one damn thing, and it just takes over your whole algorithm. So that's been less. But I've been watching a lot of Pluto TV and a lot of Star Trek. Like there's a Star Trek channel. There's 2 Star Trek channels. There's the regular Star Trek channel, which just runs Star Trek nonstop 24/7. It's mostly the original series, and then they work in the Next Generation. The other channel I've been watching a lot is it's just called More Star Trek, and all that is Star Trek Voyager. And I'm not going to get into the Star Trek weeds. I'm just saying and I just kind of zone out to that because I watched Voyager years ago, but rewatching it now, I really feel like it's a extremely underrated Star Trek show. It's just like my go-to thing to zone out to because I don't have to pay much attention to it. And as far as anything else, I just don't. It's weird. I feel like a zombie. I have no passions in life. I don't listen to music. I don't watch any movies, and I don't have any shows that I've watched. I'll eventually get into that stuff. But I am seeing. I think it's this coming Sunday and Wednesday. One of those like Fathom events where they show old movies in theaters. It's a big one. And they're showing it, of course, because the new movie is coming out at the end of June. But if you haven't seen it on the big screen, Raiders of the Lost Ark is playing in theaters across the country, at least North America, at least. I don't know about the rest of the world, but it's one of those rare movies on the list where I would say if you haven't seen it in a theater, you haven't seen it. There's a few movies on that list, like Jaws, for example. Like if you haven't seen it in theater, you haven't seen it. So I'm going to go out of my way to see Raiders in the theater. I've only seen it in the theater in the past like 25 years or so. I've been lucky. And it's in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. So I'm going to look forward to seeing that. Got to go see that. Oh, somebody says, Vincent says, I worked on Enterprise, the one everyone hates. I don't hate Enterprise. I actually really like Enterprise because at the time it came out, I wasn't watching Voyager. I didn't watch Voyager until later. And I love Scott Bakula, and I really liked Voyager, and I liked all of it. Not Voyager, Enterprise. I liked it a little better in the last 2 seasons where they got a new showrunner and the story arcs were a little different. And I was really bummed when they canceled it because every Star Trek show has lasted 7 years, and that was the first one that actually got canceled, and it was only 4 seasons, and that they rushed. They rushed that last episode of it. I remember watching it, and there was like a lot of people that watched Enterprise like hated that final episode of that. That's the one thing that's prevented me from ever rewatching Enterprise because it like Sopranos. I hate the Sopranos last episode too. I hate the last episode of Enterprise with a passion. Somebody says I'm a basic bitch, only like Next Generation. Well, you picked a good one to like. I hated. Next Generation when it first came out because I only like that. I got to hear on-set dialogue recordings. Scott Bakula is the nicest guy in Hollywood. I heard that. I had a good friend whose uncle directed the movie Necessary Roughness, which is a guilty pleasure movie of mine, and it came out in 1992, oddly enough, and it's Scott Bakula while he was at the height of like Quantum Leap, and he plays a God, I don't know how old he is in that movie. He's got to be in his late 30s at least. And anyway, he goes back to college and goes on the college football team. It's one of my favorite sports movies for just I don't know why. It was on HBO all the time, and I really liked it. Anyway, so my friend's uncle directed it. He also directed Mr. Mom with Michael Keaton, and he would just tell me stories about he was on the set of Necessary Roughness. And how the people on the set were, and he said everybody was cool. Like it's not like a big star vehicle for anybody. It was a small movie. It wasn't that big of a movie. It didn't do very well when it came out. I remember it came out in the fall of like '92, and my friend was telling me that his uncle. One of the reasons he like basically retired from the business is because of how poorly that movie was marketed, but. And I told him, I said, hey, you know what? Tell your uncle I straight up love that movie unironically, and Mr. Mom. Like he's directed two great movies, and so anyway, he was telling me being on set. He said basically what you're saying, that Scott Bakula was the coolest guy. Like, just made anybody who visited the set, like, and it was mainly shot on location, because it was like shot on like location at some university, down south, and it was shot during the summer, and he just like Scott Bakula like hung out with him, and my friend also, because he was exactly my age, he was a huge fan of Quantum Leap. And he would just like talk to him about Quantum Leap episodes, and it was new at the time. He was actually like in the middle of, he filmed that movie on the hiatus of one of between seasons of Quantum Leap, so it was still on the air and still like a top show. And he was just like, talking to him about it, and like he said he never went to his trailer, always hung out on the set, even when other people. That's a big thing like that you hear actors talk about, is the people who hang out on the set when it's not even their scenes, but they're there to support the other actors. And he said Sinbad was also in the movie. Sinbad was super cool. Sinbad was also awesome on the set. So that was great. Yeah, and I agree with Jim. Necessary Roughness and Diggstown, 2 underrated movies. They both came out at the same time. Diggstown came out in August '92, and Necessary Roughness came out in September '92, within a month of each other. I have this very weird Rain Man superpower with dates of like movies and music and stuff, so don't judge me on that. But Diggstown's great too. Diggstown is a great movie with James Woods, Oliver Platt, and what's his name? The old guy. I mean, he's still acting. He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I can't think of his name at the moment. Bruce Dern. Bruce Dern. It's like a con man movie, small town. It's great. That's a great double feature. Does Tom read the YouTube chat? Yes, I do. And I loved Quantum Leap too. I know there's a new Quantum Leap. I've not seen it. I don't know if it's like a reboot or is it a continuation. Do they acknowledge the other one? Oh yeah, Louis Gossett Jr. of course, also in Diggstown. One of my favorite. Somebody asked me like who's an underrated actor like years ago. Not years ago, a few weeks ago. Like who's an actor that doesn't get enough appreciation? And I think Louis Gossett Jr. is a great answer to that question, because the guy's phenomenal in everything he does. Really great. But yeah, it's weird. Like somebody will get in an argument with me, like, "Oh yeah, that movie came out in 98." I'm like, "No, it didn't. Like, it came out in April of '96 or something." And I'll pull it out, and then they have to look it up on their phone to see if I'm right. And I'm right. I'm mostly right. I'm better with things that came out in my much like Sam Beckett in Quantum Leap. I'm much better when it's within my own lifetime. When you get to movies that are like before my time, I can get it within a couple of years, sometime the exact year, but most of the time I'm pretty close. But once it's in my lifetime, like when I'm old enough to remember when things came out, I can nail it. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. I don't know. I think we talked about Star Trek and Enterprise. So yeah, I was a big Scott Bakula fan. So I really. He's one of those people that you root for. Like it's weird to say that. Like there's certain actors that they're not necessarily like the greatest actors, and not necessarily like your favorite actor, but there's actors that you root for. And when they get a show or something like that, you're just happy for them. Like he had some other show, I didn't watch it. It was like some show with like Ray, whatever his name is from Everybody Loves Raymond, and it was like some cable show. But I remember like Scott Bakula was in it. I didn't watch it because it wasn't like targeted towards me, but I was happy that he had it. So I'm always like, it's like one of those actors that you're just happy to see working. Like you're just like, oh, I'm glad he got that gig. Like So, and I thought Soviet Goat says he's likable, and he's right. He was so likable. That's what I liked about Enterprise, and I know a lot of Star Trek fans like thumb their nose to Enterprise. The Star Trek show that he was in, but I thought he was a great captain. I thought that show was well cast. I don't think they had the writing. Ray Romano. Sorry, I don't think they figured out what that show should be until about the 3rd season, and by then it was kind of too late because I think people had Star Trek fatigue too. There was just a lot of Star Trek in a bunch, in a short bunch of time. They didn't take any breaks, and it was also the same writing staff as like Voyager carried over into Enterprise, and it showed. It was supposed to be a prequel of like early like Starfleet, and it didn't translate as such. Men of a Certain Age, yeah, that was the show. But yeah, and the N601 Enterprise was great. It was just a great look. I liked the look of the ship. It was like like a steel construction. The interior, I like the bridge of the Enterprise looked like a submarine bridge. It visually looked good, and yeah. Now that I'm talking about it, I would totally watch it. I bought all the Star Treks were on sale on iTunes like a while back, and I bought all of the series. I bought like Next Generation original series, Deep Space Nine, which I've never seen. I've never seen Deep Space Nine, and I've probably mentioned that before, but one of these days I want to get into it. Mitchell says, unpopular opinion, I like Voyager. It's not an unpopular opinion. I think Voyager has aged like fine wine. I said I wasn't getting into the Star Trek weeds, and now I'm in the Star Trek weeds. But Star Trek Voyager is a just straight up great show, and there's some of the best Star Trek is in Voyager. Now, on the whole, if you take every episode from every season, they're not all of the same level, but there are some arcs in Voyager which is as good as anything else Star Trek's ever done, whether it's Next Generation, original series, whatever. I think Star Trek Voyager has a great cast, top to bottom. I remember it was controversial at the time that they had a black Vulcan. And now you look at that like it's nothing. But at the time it was bad. And at the time, actually, a female captain was a big deal. Now it's no big deal. Who's the best TV dad? Garrett asked. Jerry Stiller is in the running. Peter Boyle was good on Raymond Show. I never watched Everybody Loves Raymond. I have to nix Jerry Stiller because if you're talking about Jerry Stiller from Seinfeld, I think a TV dad, to be best TV dad, I think you got to be in every episode. I think the show has to kind of revolve around you. And he was kind of an ancillary, once in a while character on Seinfeld. So I know he was on King of Queens, and he was on that more, but that was just kind of a carbon copy of George Costanza. It would not be any 90s. It would have to be... you know what? I'm going to answer that question straight up. It's Mr. Drummond on Different Strokes. That gets my vote. Mr. Drummond. Philip Drummond, the multimillionaire who adopted the two children of his housekeeper who passed away and took them in as if they were their own, his own kids, and hilarity ensued. So I'm going to go Philip Drummond. People say Carl Winslow. I don't get it. I never understood the appeal of Family Matters. I hated all those ABC Friday shows. I hated them. I hated them all. I hated Family Matters and what's the other one with the Bob Saget? I can't even think of the name right now. And I hated them because my sisters both loved them, and they were always on, whether it was first run or reruns. Couldn't stand them. The only one I kind of liked was Perfect Strangers, which is the original show that Family Matters was spun off from. Al Bundy's a good call for different reasons. Andy Griffith's definitely in the running. It's more classic. I don't look at him. I look at Andy as more of a TV sheriff than a TV dad, if that makes sense. Full House, yeah. I hate Full House. Can't stand it. Didn't watch Full House, so I can't. I mean, I know not Full House. Fresh Prince. Didn't really watch it, so I mean, I've seen enough of it. I've never seen an episode beginning to end, but I know enough of it. Coach. I like Coach a lot. Coach is a good show. That's another guy I always root for is Craig T. Nelson from Poltergeist. He's been in a bunch of stuff. I love Craig T. Nelson. But those ABC shows were very they just feel like they were turned out of a machine. Like it seemed like AI wrote them, like more than like actual people, because they were all the same. Like there was I remember Step by Step, Just the 10 of Us, Family Matters, and they just all kind of blend together. Very milquetoast. They're very boring and standard. I don't know. But anyway, I like the guy who said that they like Voyager. If you remotely like Star Trek, check out Voyager. Because Voyager's got an interesting plot to it. I never knew about when it was on the air, I never really paid attention to it. Because I was doing other things. I was going to school and everything. and I never watched it until a friend of mine told me the story of like, the plot line of Voyager is like, I just thought it was another like, Next Generation thing, but apparently, like, not apparently, it is this way, but Voyager is a ship that's lost in space, like in a far, 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 very distant part of the universe, the galaxy. It's in the Delta Quadrant. We're in the Alpha Quadrant. That's where most of the Star Trek takes place, in the Alpha Quadrant. If Voyager, they get jettisoned very far away, and like they say that even at maximum warp speed, it would take them like 100 years to get back to Earth. So you kind of watch. So it kind of has a purpose. You're kind of watching the show to see if they ever get back to Earth. And I won't ruin it. I won't say if they ever do. But it's better than you think it is if you're remotely interested in thing. Oh yeah, and the pilot leaves from Deep Space Nine, which is kind of interesting. And having not seen Deep Space Nine, I keep waiting to see if they'll, because they did a great job remastering Next Generation in high definition, and I keep waiting to see if they'll do that with Deep Space Nine. I don't think so. I think it'll be thing. Have I watched any new Star Trek on Paramount Plus? The only new Star Trek I saw was Picard, and I really didn't like it. The first 2 seasons of Picard, which I thought was crap. Well, 1 or 2 things that I liked, although I heard the 3rd season that just ended was pretty good, and I will probably watch that at some point. But as far as the other new Star Trek stuff like Discovery and Upper Decks or whatever, Brave, Bold New World or whatever else, I've not seen any of it. I have friends of mine who are major Star Trek nerds that I abide by, and they say that they're pretty much abysmal. So, no, I haven't seen them. Christopher Miller, the story arc of the Doctor hologram on Voyager is, but yeah, I think the writers liked him because he gets a lot of play. I really like the Doctor stuff. I like the 7 and 9 stuff. Who's the hot female Borg, I think going through the whole cast, I think there's a lot of people on that cast that are underutilized. Like you got the first officer Chakotay. They don't give him a lot to do, but he's a great supporting character. It's a very well up top to. I think this is a controversial thing. I think Voyager is better cast than Next Generation. I think it's a great cast. I think they did an excellent job on casting that show. But anyway, I'll get out of the Star Trek reads. I know it's not interested to everybody. Picard season 3 and Strange New Worlds were good. But isn't Strange New Worlds, doesn't that have like Spock in it, which I think is really taking liberties? I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Ben Cartwright, best dad. Hard to argue that. Bonanza, hard to argue that. That's one of those shows I've seen like full episodes here and there. Like, you couldn't avoid them in reruns, which I guess reruns aren't really a thing anymore. But I've never seen the full. I mean, it didn't go on for like 10 years or something like that. Not a fan of Spock on the show. New Star Trek is actually really good. You should give it a try. Does that include Discovery? Because I've heard negative things about Discovery. And I don't like the look, because I see the commercials all the time on Pluto TV, which is where I watch Voyager. And it's weird. There's sometimes the thing about Pluto TV, it's one of those apps that just streams stuff, but it has commercials. And I'll be watching, like, once in a while I'll get really into either a Next Generation or a Voyager. And I watched a lot of it this weekend because I was just basically just doing nothing this weekend. And I was going back and forth, and occasionally I would go to commercial and I'd be like, wait, I own this. I have this on iTunes. I could just go in and watch. And sometimes I'll just go to the episode and cue it up to where I left off and then not watch the commercials. Garrett, I said 1992 wasn't good for music. What was a good year? I think, I mean, just in that, I can only speak for myself when I was like in school. I think 94 was a really good year for music. That was the kind of the year that like a lot of stuff kind of broke into the mainstream. And I remember being really into music in 94, 93, 94, 95 were like formative years for me of getting really into music. Yeah, 92 has its moments if you're like into obscure stuff, but as far as like the top stuff that was like played on the radio and things like that, man, 92 blew. Not good. Yeah, it was like, it'd be like, Your Arsenal came out in August 92. Morrissey's Your Arsenal, which was nominated for a Grammy for Best Alternative Album. Did not win. Not that that's a big deal. It's not. 91's a good year too. But if I had to pick a year out of nowhere, I would go with 94. Christopher says, I would argue that Star Trek does not appeal immediately. Deep Space Nine is good. I did not enjoy it until I watched the season a second time. Yeah, I tried getting into... I've watched the pilot to Deep Space Nine many times because I think Picard is in the first episode and it was interesting. But I just couldn't get into... I don't know, maybe it was the cast that put me... I don't know. I've seen episodes of it. Like I saw the Tribble episode because they did this one episode where like they went back in time to like the original series timeline. I watched that because that was a big deal when that was on. But who would win in a street fight, David Byrne or Morrissey? David Byrne. Perry would have been a Ferengi or a very oily Fat Borg. I think Ferengi is probably the good call there. I think Perry would be a Ferengi. Yeah, sorry, no more Star Trek. Yeah, Morrissey's bigger for sure, but I don't think he's been in many throwdown fights. I think David Byrne has. Actually, a good friend of mine, his wife was David Byrne's personal assistant for many years, so I have some firsthand accounting that David Byrne's kind of a little bit of a badass. So inside info on that one. Take Perry to Comic-Con. Garrett and Perry did Comic-Con last year. I just think it's way too busy and way too crowded to get any real things going. Perry went as Skittles Man to Comic-Con last year. It was kind of a last-minute thing that we hustled together. I don't think it's our bag, to be honest with you. I think there's other things we can do. Christopher says, I'll stop the Star Trek. Look, don't stop Star Trek talk on my account. Just more people can just dip out if they don't like it. But top 5 Smith songs, TomB. It changes all the time, but it's usually I Want the One I Can't Have, Big Mouth Strikes Again, Still Ill, Stop Me If You Think You've Heard This One Before, and There's the Light That Never Goes Out. Not necessarily in that order. I just recently heard about Will Wheaton's childhood. He had a rough time. Yeah, I heard that too. I don't know any details about that. I've heard other people talk about it. People like sardines. Yeah, we did that live stream. I was so pissed off at Perry because there was that live stream we did. It was like a pop-up at San Diego. And, Perry has the camera phone, which is what we use for Skype. And that's what I wanted him to use. Instead, Perry used that camera phone to record himself and Garrett on the drive down to Comic-Con. And by the time they got there, the battery was dead. And I was like, well, I didn't want you to use that as like a content phone. I wanted that to stream on. So Garrett, quick thinking as he is, quickly installed Skype on his phone, but it wasn't quite made for it the way Perry's camera phone is. And it was fine, but it was a lot of cutouts. That's the thing, too. There's just no internet there because everybody is using... Everybody was using internet, so yeah. My favorite is Still Ill on Rank. Yes, the Rank version of Still Ill is my preferred version as well. Yeah, so you'd have to bring like your own like hotspot or something like that to make it work. But it's just there's other things like that I think would be better suited to Perry. It's just like every Tom, Dick, and Harry's down there. I think if you're gonna do Comic-Con, I think the better thing to do is just kind of hang out downtown and kind of like maybe interact with the people dressed up and things like that, and maybe not even go into the convention halls. I don't know. I've never been remotely interested in going to Comic-Con. I went one year for work, and it was like it was hell because I don't like crowds. I don't even really, I don't like being in crowded places, which is strange because I used to love going to concerts. That's another thing that I've just completely am passionless for is concerts. I don't care. I'm seeing Guns N' Roses this summer because my friend bought tickets. I might be seeing one other thing. I might see The Cure, and I'm not a big Cure fan, but apart from that, I couldn't possibly be bothered. Most of the people that I even like are either dead, retired, or they stink at this stage of their career. All good choices, Fancy Mortimer. There's really... The thing about the Smiths songs is there's very few bad ones. You can count the bad ones on one hand, so there's no wrong answer. Well, unless you say, like Golden Lights or something like that. That's a wrong answer. I would like to see Perry interact with various Hooters girls around the country. That's one of the things I felt bad about on the trip we just took back east is I think Perry really did want to go to an East Coast Hooters, and we never quite made it. So I felt bad about that. One of these days. Danko worked at Comic-Cons all over the country for a decade. It's crazy. Yeah, even like the New York Comic-Con is crazy, which some people say is better than the San Diego one. It's just too... I would like to go back in time and go to like a Comic-Con in like the 80s, like saying before it became this huge thing where like, big studios and companies go down to announce their stuff. Back when it was like pure and actually about comics and stuff like that would be cool. Before it got to be, this thing that it is. I mean, who cares? And also, why do you need to go there? Because even if you're looking to go see like, oh, they're going to debut the new trailer for, whatever, the next Marvel movie or whatever, for people that still care about that, it's going to be on YouTube the same day. Why would you go through all that hassle and turmoil to go through those crowds? It's just, I see people, like the crowds of it just really bother me. I've been to CES a couple of times in Vegas, and that's very crowded, and that's not even on the level of San Diego Comic-Con, and I can manage that somewhat, but I'd rather take a pass. Editors fan, yeah. I wouldn't say editors fan. I appreciate editors. I like them. I wouldn't. I'd fall short of calling myself a fan. I don't know if I'd go see them like live, but yeah, you're right. They do have a Smithy feel. Is Perry scheduled for Howie Mandel podcast? Not scheduled, but it's going to happen. Yes, if you. So our friends Shuli and Bob Levy were on. We're interviewing. Howie Mandel on their show, and the topic of Perry came up, and and Howie was very big into the idea of getting. He's actually a very big fan of Perry. He was a big fan of Windy City Heat. He's very aware of Perry, and Perry will be. It's not set in stone. It's not like I have a date or anything like that. But yeah, Perry will be on Howie Mandel. We're taking a little bit of a pause on media appearance. I think Perry's hit a lot of shows lately, so I'm gonna take a little bit of a pause on Perry doing any kind of media, at least now through like let's say July. But there's some big ones planned that people that like I was very surprised of whose radar Perry was on. And they definitely want. I've already mentioned Shane Gillis is another one. A lot of shows he has to do like in person when he comes back to New York. A Legion of Skanks, and I'm trying to think of ones that he hasn't done already. But Howie Mandel would be a really big one, and that's another guy that I always hear great things about. Like things like we were talking about Scott Bakula. I hear great things about Howie Mandel, just like what a great guy he is. Never heard a bad word said about him. Oh shit! Guns N' Roses November Rain was 92 too. You might be wrong there. No, I'm not wrong. November Rain was 91. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 came out in 91, my friend, not 92. The single might have came out in 92, but that's a 91 song. Actually, it's way older than that. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 were basically songs that they had in the can for a long time, and it just took a long time to come out. But yeah, no, it's not a 92 song. I would admit if I was wrong, but I'm not. So yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be cool to get Perry on there. Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina is probably the last big Comic Con that's primarily focused on comics. Okay, I've not heard of that one, or maybe I have. I saw Willie Nelson a few weeks ago in Kansas City. I'm not a big country fan, but Willie's different. Is he too old now, Tim? Because I feel like some people that play like that are old. I remember seeing Johnny Cash actually at Irving Plaza, which is a very small venue in New York, and he was just like before the point where he got really old, and it was great. And it was also great that you could say you saw Johnny Cash live, and he was great. Yeah. Bellyful of Swans backs me up. Axl had been writing November Rain for years before that, and it came out in 91. Well said, Tom. Thank you for backing me up on that. Love Blind Melon, F the haters. Blind Melon's one of those bands that just doesn't. They don't affect me one way or the other. Oh wow, Willie Nelson is 90 years old. Holy crap! The fact that he's still singing. There comes a point in a singer's career where they just lose that timbre in their voice, and it's not quite the same. I think Paul McCartney's kind of at that stage a little bit. I hate to say that, but he's just lost a little bit of that timbre in the voice, and it's not what it used to be, and it's always kind of strange. Maybe Willie's one of those guys that has it. One of the most tragic examples of that is I don't know how many people know who Jay Black is. Jay Black of Jay and the Americans, and he's passed away now. He passed away a couple years ago, but he's famous for being like this legendary crooner, and famous for singing the song Caravello, which I don't know if you must know the song. It's funny. I first heard of Caravello on the WWF wrestling album because Nikolai Volkov sang it, and that's the first time I heard of it. I didn't realize that it was Nikolai did actually a very good version of it, but Jay Black, that was like his signature song, and even when he was much older, he could still belt it out. Somebody says they saw Phil Collins last year and it was beyond depressing and he can't. Yeah, I saw YouTube clips of Genesis and Phil Collins like sitting in like an office chair. It just, you could tell that they're just trying to get through it because they were obligated to. But yeah, he just it didn't have it, and it was really sad to see. Let me see if I can pull up a little J Black here, just to give you context of what I'm talking about. Very good point. Leonard Cohen sounded better as he got older. I think that's true of Morrissey. I think Morrissey's has never sounded better. Of course, I think he lost his songwriting ability some time ago, and the music isn't necessarily there, but the voice is. And I heard the same thing with Robert Smith. I've heard a couple of tracks from like The Cure playing, and I'm not a big Cure fan, but his voice is just phenomenal. Let me see if this plays here, just to give you an idea of Jay Black, just like one of the all-time best voices. And okay, so this will play. I just got to resize this a little bit, but so Jay Black, old school crooner from like the 50s, has passed away now, but this clip here is from like maybe, I don't know, maybe 11, 12 years ago. He had to be in his 80s, and just listen to what he belts out. And I'll say the next thing after. Just check this out. Just one second. This is some special. This is Jay Black.
Well, thank you very much. The next song I'm going to do for you, I have to explain this before I do it. I recorded this song when I was 25 years old. So bear in mind, I decided that because of the notes in this song, how high they were, that I would retire at the age of 40. Now, circumstances led up to me not being able to retire.
You know what? I'm not going to play that version because it's like recorded off somebody's phone. I'm going to get a better version of that. But anyway, what he's basically talking about is he was going to retire because he didn't think he'd have the voice to hit these high notes. as he once did. But as you will see, I believe this is from 2014. I'm not sure. This is the single.
Each time we part, my heart wants to
I'm gonna get hit with a copyright on that, but I just don't care because he's so good. Anyway, this guy just belts it out. He's just you can look it up on your own. Caravello, J Black, just unbelievable at this age that he was able to belt it out like this. And yeah, and the sad thing is he did the same song about maybe 5 years after that, and there was a video of it, and it was just he had lost it. Like he had lost that real high falsetto, and still good, very good, still better than any of us could do on our best day, but had lost it. And but yeah, look up Jay Black. It's just I would play the whole thing. Yeah, you know what? When I leave, I'll play the whole thing. But it's Jesus Christ, what an amazing voice on him. And rest in peace. His name is Jay Black, famous for Jay Black and the Americans. Just jeez Louise. Yeah, somebody said that you see The Cure, you get your money's worth. I know they play for nearly 3 hours, and they always change up their set list. They play really deep cuts and things like that. Good night, Denko. And you don't get that with like somebody like Morrissey, who Morrissey gives you a lazy 80 minutes if you're lucky, and it's all of his, most of it's like 90% of his new garbage that no one wants to hear. And we'll throw in a little, gemstones throughout the way, but yeah, it's disappointing. But yeah, just Tool is awesome live. I've seen Tool. I saw Tool in '97. I think it was '97. They were really good. Anyway, music weeds. But yeah, getting old for voices, sometimes they're better and better. But even like voiceover people, and I say this as somewhat of a voiceover guy, the male voice is pretty unflappable until you hit your like maybe mid 70s. I noticed even in my dad. I went out with my dad the other night, and we go out like maybe once a week and grab dinner together, and we had actually a really good time out. But I just noticed even when he's telling stories, my dad doesn't have that timbre anymore. Like that he used to have a very, identifiable voice that, and it's just a little slower. It's not, it's just age. It's just, like everybody says, growing old sucks. Oh, sorry, Danko. I thought you were saying goodbye. Maybe you're saying goodbye to somebody else. Good night, NF. Says good night. Thanks for the work, TomB and PCL crew. You've given me some bright spots throughout a tough year. I'm sorry you've had a tough year, and if PCL has given you bright spots, then that's very gratifying. I'll pass that on to Perry, and I know all the PCL crew appreciates that. Not seeing Tool or Jane's Addiction was your biggest regrets. I've seen both. Wasn't that big of a fan of Jane's Addiction. I did see them. I saw them on Lollapalooza. The first one. Yeah, Vince Neil's a good example, Garrett. He's completely lost. Like, yeah, you can't even hear what he's saying. Some of the pitch is there, but yeah, he's a mess. I'm not a big Kiss guy, but people say Kiss still sounds all right. AI is going to take over, and everybody will sound like will sing like they did 20 years ago. You know what? That's true. That's true. That's a good point. AI is getting like scary. Like last week, there was this. There was a media share from what's his name, Mike O'Hearn. You know, Perry's bodybuilder friend, who he thinks he knows, and one-time moderator of PCL. And there was a video from him to Perry, and I was looking at it in stunned disbelief because I thought this was the most incredible. This is where we are with AI, and it looks amazing, and it sounds like just like him. Apparently, it was really him. It was just somebody went to like a cameo and like inserted Perry's name, but it was still very good. But the fact that I was downing it, the fact that I was like looking at it and be like, oh my God, like this is where we are. You know, it's just, you know, look, even in Rappin' Randy, like, you know, Amy and, you know, seeing like Amy talking and Perry's like that first playthrough where Perry's looking at tonight, you know, he's like, my brother, my sister-in-law, and, you know, Randy are singing on a track. No, it was real, Garrett. It was real. And then the real, somebody wrote me a message. I wonder if I could pull it up. On the same, so I was thrown off because this is around the same time. Oh, okay, yeah. So this guy who writes me, who's a PCL guy, saying like, I'm on a production right now with the actual Mike O'Hearn. He just unblocked PCL on Instagram and sent Perry a message. We talked about PCL. Mike didn't know what it is, but now he thinks it's hilarious. He's also unblocked PCL on other platforms, and he's now aware of our world and very interested. So I did ask him if there was any more news on Mike O'Hearn, but but the fact that Mike now knows PCL and he enjoys it, and of course has no idea who Perry is, despite what Perry would think. But I thought that was great. And I, you know, and again, Mike O'Hearn is one of those characters or people that I never heard of until PCL. Like, he wouldn't be on my radar at all. But it's great that Mike is, you know, Mike's now a PCL. I don't think he's watching PCL, but the fact that, you know, he, you know, I guess you can only imagine he must have been getting like really weird things from PCL back, you know, maybe a year ago or whatever. We were heavy with Mike O'Hearn stuff, and he just blocked, you know, whatever, and now he's, yeah, he's into it, so that's cool. Chris says, if you're scared of AI, you will simply miss out. Data from Star Trek is powered by AI. Yeah, I know. I'm not going to get back into Star Trek, but yes, you're right. I'm not scared of it, but it's really strange. Like, we're getting to like into some Terminator shit. Like what James Cameron wrote as fiction in 1984 is more of like a foretelling of, you know, AI getting so advanced that it becomes self-aware and decides, hey, we don't need these people anymore. We're going to wipe them out. Like, it's getting closer and closer to that now. That's the only way I would say it's scary. It's just so, you know, it's ridiculous how good it is. And you just in media shares alone, like where I question them, because it's funny, like not even a year ago, like 6 months ago with media share stuff, you look at something that Perry fell for, you're like, oh, how could he, I can't believe he thinks that's legit. It's funny. Ha ha ha. You know, that he thinks so-and-so's in the hallway or there's a stampede of elephants running by, whatever it is. And now I feel like Perry, because I'm just like, I don't know if that's real or not. It's the AI is so good, it's hard to tell. So I thought this was good too. Yeah, someone had a comment tonight from Brooke Shields talking about the mileage on her twat, and Perry didn't doubt it that it was from the actual Brooke Shields. That was one of the low key. I usually have like low key favorite comments of the night. That was definitely top notch. Whoever did the Brooke Shields was fantastic. And what a vulgar but brilliant way to talk about. Been around the block is talk about the mileage on her quote twat, which made me laugh. Perry is so gullible, yeah. That's why we love him, though, isn't it? It's just there's a couple of them. Sometimes I'm busy, especially during media share, and like there was a couple of technical things. There was a weird thing that happened like right as we started, like literally the show started. Intro was over. Perry was coming to the camera, and then our broadcasting software crashed, but the program didn't crash. It was just like the stream key stopped functioning or something like that. It's very technical. People that don't even know, most people don't even know how this thing works, but it was just weird. And I think it's because like we started generating, I don't know, some shows do this where they put out the live YouTube link before it actually comes out, and I think doing that kind of messed it up tonight because like Twitch and YouTube were kind of, I don't know, operating on different keys or something like that. Whatever. I'm making that up. I don't even know if that was the case. But then when I restarted it, and it was just, I went back to our regular quote unquote stream key. And the stream key is what allows you to stream to different platforms. It's like the key. Different sites have different keys, and you got to copy and paste it into your broadcasting software. Very annoying. Do I ever catch myself using Perryisms in real life? Yeah, all the time. All the time. Constantly. To the point where it's annoying. Is there another Perry Starlet crush we can put into play? You know what? I would really enjoy that because I don't know. I don't even know if Scarlett's run her course at this point. It's so ridiculous at this point. Yeah, maybe somebody like, it would be funny if it was like somebody old, but he didn't know how old they were or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like somebody like, what's her name? Oh, I could picture her like Meg Ryan or somebody like that, who, I don't know. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to. I hate when people disparage older people for looking older, but yeah, she's one of those people that just got like really bad plastic surgery and doesn't look like herself. But yeah, Jane Fonda might be too old because even he would be like, oh, that's because I think Jane Fonda was old when he was a kid. So you gotta say like Perry stopped evolving in the 80s, so you'd have to like cap it at like whoever was famous in the 80s, maybe 90s. I don't know. But it was a good question. Yeah, and so the answer is yes. It would be nice to get him off the Scarlet stuff. But some people really like the Scarlet or Gina Carano stuff, and as many real talks as I've had with him about how it only bothers me when it's done off the stream. If like somebody on Instagram is hitting him up, and once in a while we get content out of it, and I can record a call and we'll put up on Patreon or something. But it is irritating. So I will never put water on something that happens on the stream. As far as I'm concerned, Randy Callahan is now a rap star and is putting out an album, and I will sign by that. And I would never do something like off air, be like, yeah, Perry, Randy's not really putting out. That's just for the stream. I would never say that in a million years because I have just too much respect for Rappin' Randy. I consider Rappin' Randy, and I'll say this about Rappin' Randy, it's given me a newfound interest in the Randy thing because I don't. I've said this many times. I don't care about the 92 stuff the way other people do. I get very fatigued of it, and I know it's a huge Perry staple. It's not even a PCL staple. It's definitely not a Big Three staple. It's a Perry staple. It's his story, and it's just gone on, and I get tired of it. Me personally, but comedy's very subjective, and I think even PCL is very subjective because people will like different things. I think that's what makes it great, and what I might find funny somebody else doesn't, and vice versa. However, this Rappin' Randy thing has made me completely rethink everything I've ever thought about Randy, right? Because I straight up unironically love Rappin' Randy to the point where I've played the music on my own not off the stream in my like off time, like driving. Garrett says, this is the first stream in a while where he didn't tell the 92 story. Yeah, there's times where, there's phases where he hits 92 really hard. And then we get away from it, and then he'll do it again, and whatever. But why does Perry think that Tom's tips are my words and not viewer submissions? Once in a while, I think most of the time he realizes that it's somebody else submitting them. But, yeah, obviously he's hearing my voice say it. And if they really trigger him, he'll just, Has he ever shut off his computer during a Tom's Tips? I don't remember. I feel like he has. But yeah, I don't know. You're asking me to dissect Perry. And to this day, I've worked with Perry a long time. I talked to Perry more than I talked to probably anybody else in my life. And there's still mysteries to unravel. So I don't know. Yeah, it's like when I pitch an offer to him or something like that, and he'll be he'll just start calling me every name in the book and calling me a sea sucker and mother effer and that, and he's just taking it out on me. And once in a while I'll clarify, wait, are you talking to me? Yeah, I'm talking to you. That kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't often watch the Comedy Pyrrhic Resurrection videos because I've seen them. I think I've seen them all once at least. But about a year ago, Perry went to get them properly mastered. His big the big half-inch tapes, the studio tapes transferred, and that's what we've been putting up on Patreon. Once a month, there's a new Comedy Pyrrhic Resurrection. And so, like I said, I was really taking it easy this weekend. And I actually got a little Star Trek out at some point yesterday. And I didn't even watch them. There was a Mets game on. I didn't even watch that. But then I was like, we're going to put out the Comedy Pyrrhic. I was like, I'm going to watch that on the TV. And I'll just scan through it. But I watched the whole thing, and I thought it was great. His cousin Sam is on the show, but wasn't scheduled to be on the show because Perry's magician friend Mike Majestic was scheduled to be on the show and didn't show up. And when I first saw that video, I thought that Sam was Mike Majestic, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's got a personality." I didn't realize it was his cousin Sam, and I will say, I've had many dealings with Sam and Perry's cousin Sam. Not my favorite Perry cousin. Of course, that goes to Mark, his cousin Mark, which is Perry's accountant and does a lot for Perry and PCL on the back end. But Sam's kind of a pain in the butt and, this and that. I'm not going to say anything, but he's great on this show. He's great. Sam is Jehovah's Witness. I think he's getting a little out of it himself, to be honest. That's the latest Sam news I've heard. Is he's not as big into it as he once was. But man, if he can be like this guy that he was, got on this show that's over 20 years old, that would be great. But anyway, what do Perry's neighbors think of him? He's screaming, yelling. It depends. He hasn't had too many problems, really, to be honest with you, which is surprising. A lot. I mean, aside from getting attacked, when he got attacked, but that wasn't necessarily a neighbor. He's been lucky to have really mostly understanding neighbors. There's an older couple that live in the apartment that Trevor, his old neighbor, lived in, and there were a couple of times where I think on the stream they've knocked on the wall when he's really been losing it, like late, you know. Any idea when street eats are going to be up and running? What does that mean? What street eats? Maybe I don't know what that is. When Perry's tired, Tom is in total control, like a hypnotherapist. I do my best. But how is Trevor? I didn't Trevor every now and again. Trevor pops up in the Twitch chat. Haven't seen him in a little while, but from last I heard, he was doing really well. You know, he like most people in Perry's apartment complex, living there is a temporary thing, and it was a means to an end. He's a very young guy. He was going to school, and it was just means to an end, and he couldn't wait to get out of there. Not because of Perry, just because it's a shitty complex, and I want to say he's in South Carolina. I'm not sure if that's true, but he was doing really well, and I'm happy for him. And you know, Trevor obviously put up with a lot of crap. So he says, I never do Tom's tips under any other name except once as Batman. I got my favorite response halfway through Tom's great Batman impression. Oh, and saying Bat Dong, Perry goes, that's not the real Batman. Oh, I remember that now, yeah. I think I was doing a Kevin Conroy impression. Rest in peace. Cousin Sam was playing the TomB role in the Comedy Pre-Arc Resurrection, so of course Tom liked him. No, I don't think he was. Not really. I mean he also, that's a different Perry. So, you know, he just played off him really well. I saw that clip of Gavin calling Perry a monster on Kumia's show after Tom, and I can't tell if he's being purposely misleading or he just doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, I had the same thought, and I deferred to not knowing what he's talking about. In fact, I wonder if I could play the audio of that. I hear conflicting things about if you can play Gavin on YouTube, because he told me himself that he's not allowed, but then I see Compound putting clips of them. So I don't know what the real story is. But I'm not going to play video, but I'll play the audio of it. Let me see if I still... I got to get better organized with where I put files. So he's talking about Gavin McGinnis, who does co-host with Anthony Cumia on Wednesdays. And this is the Wednesday after Perry was in the studio with Anthony. So he was talking about how it went, and my whole issue with with Gavin is, I mean, well, there's a couple of them, but one of the things I said, you know, I don't know, about a month ago, is that Gavin's information on Perry is extremely outdated, and he used to be a great ambassador for Perry and getting people into Perry and everything like that, but now he's terrible. And I told him that, and he agreed, because there was somebody that was actually listening to After Hours and wrote Gavin this crazy long email saying, like, oh, I think I read it a few weeks ago. I'm not going to go to it again. I didn't care. Gavin and I've known Gavin a long time. And he was just like, this guy was like, TomB and his, like, you know, the 12 people that listen to his stupid thing. And he was saying this and that. And the one thing I always liked about Gavin is, you know, he kind of tells it like it is. And I kind of tell it like it is. And we could be that way with each other. And we were on the phone. I was like, yeah, I said that you're very out of touch with Perry. He goes, well, you're right. And then, you know, then we caught up a little bit. It was funny. Did I ever attend Action Park in New Jersey? Yeah, like every summer. We called it Class Action Park. It's gotten a little bit of a reputation where it was just like dangerous play. That's bullshit. it was never that bad. You knew what you were getting into when you went to Action Park. It was great. Let me see if I can find this. He was droning on about the old guard like he enjoyed when Barris and company just shit on him all the time. Yeah, I don't know. Because I feel Gavin knows some things, but he doesn't necessarily watch PCL. His producer Ryan watches PCL, and I think he gets like fed information. And I said last week that I would have Perry interviewed with Gavin because I do owe him that because I wouldn't know of Perry most likely without Gavin. But anyway. I'd have certain rules in place, like, hey, you gotta get with the program. You gotta get like what the deal is, with, modern Perry and course correct some things that you say, and also please, for the love of God, no politics or, anything like that, which I think he would be cool with. Anyway, let me see. So this is just a little clip. I think I played a lot of stuff from when Perry was on Compound last week, but this is like that phone call. Okay, so this is Perry mentioned on with Gavin. I'll just do the audio. I'm not gonna do the video.
How did that go?
It was good. Yeah.
How did you like Scary Perry?
Well, he is scary and he is Perry. He is an odd fish.
It's a very acquired taste.
Oh, yes.
I feel like a sommelier asking about some $700 bottle of
liquid filth. What is this?
Excuse me, Mr. Caravello.
Oh, there he is.
Do you have any comment?
Yeah. By the way, I did send the producers the TMZ scoop. So they played that. That's what's playing now.
About wearing blackface on Kumia's show?
What are you bothering me for? Get out of here.
You're a celebrity, sir.
Okay.
You were on the Anthony Cumia show and you're wearing blackface. That didn't go well for you.
It was not blackface. It was not blackface. Let me guarantee it was not blackface. It was a tan.
It's a very dark tan.
Dark tan.
It sure is.
Well, dark tan is blackface.
Are you worried that Mr. Cumia is going to get in trouble for having you on?
Again. Not blackface. Dark tan. It was dressed as a dark tan.
I love his
not
hands.
Blackface.
He's got these.
If you think it's blackface, get the fuck out of here.
Well, I mean, it's okay. Ted Danson got away with it. I think you can, too.
No,
I think he's still got the tan stuff on his hands.
Dark tan.
Yeah, it's rubbing off.
Are you sure you packed that all yourself? You didn't have the Taliban?
I guess black hands isn't as bad as black face, but...
Forgot about his big floppy gorilla
this
hands.
floppy hand thing.
It's like he had a hand transplant and they made the hands too big.
Yeah.
He's just got these big ape gestures.
Dude, he's fucking, he's funny. He's a weird guy. It's like professional wrestling, and it's whatever it is. And then he gets up on stage, and the people love him, and they're cheering for him, and he's up there for over an hour.
A lot of people think he's in on it. They don't understand to what degree.
Right. That's just it. I don't know. That's why I was getting this professional wrestling angle, but then I realized, no, he's really that guy.
He's wrestling.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, he gets hurt in the ring.
Yeah. He's got his posse with him. And, I've seen his show where he's in that little apartment yelling, and people deliver shit to him that he hates, and his address is given out there, and people deliver things to his house.
Well, someone paid him $300 to get a deep, dark tan.
Oh, is that why he had the deep, dark tan on my show?
Yes.
Yeah, he came in, I was like, what the fuck is this? It looked like he was glowing, like it was such a sheen that the green was showing up on his face. I thought he had green on his face at first. It was weird, right? Because how black can be reflective
of course.
Of green. And it was the weirdest thing. And he sat down and we just talked. I acknowledged it quickly. Like, what's going on? And he just never said anything about it.
I saw one live stream he was doing where he looked really wet.
Look, there he is.
I gotta watch this.
You can't look.
Oh my! Wait!
Okay, so at this point, they're playing the video of Perry's appearance, and Gavin's getting a look at Perry's dark tan for the first time.
Yeah.
I haven't watched this yet.
He's in blackface.
Oh my God, that is way darker than it looked in the pictures.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Sweep.
My favorite Perry moment, and it changes over time, was when the old crew that used to marionette him, Don and Mo,
Marionette, yeah.
they said, Perry, you missed this important meeting with a director who's going to get you in a Quentin Tarantino film.
Oh, wow.
What the fuck? And he's like, I had to go to my AA thing. It was Simon Le Bon was singing. And he's like, what the well, that's not a good enough excuse. You have to call the director, who was, what's his name there? Oh, my God. All my Perry references are dying of all.
Gavin's trying to think of John Quincy Adams, so which just shows you how out of touch he is if he can't even think of that. So just for context.
Age, but he's this British aristocrat who funds all of Hollywood.
Okay.
Fake guy,
right.
And he goes, you have to call him Quincy Adams, and you have to call him and explain, like, say you were raped, and he'll forgive you missing the appointment.
Oh, okay, that's a good excuse. Can't argue it.
All right. So he goes, yeah, I was at this thing. Simon Le Bon was singing. And he talks like Marge Simpson.
Yeah, he does. He's got the high.
And this guy put a bottle in my ass. And I didn't want to squeeze, but I squoze. And it broke. I didn't want to squeeze, but I squoze.
I squoze, and it broke in his ass. And
yeah. So obviously intense bleeding.
You could just get a simple rape story.
Yeah, why?
Why did he have to?
You know how hard you have to squoze?
Oh, there's no way the human
a Coke
body.
bottle?
I defy anyone. First of all, if you could put a bottle up your ass, you don't have the muscular integrity anymore to break it. It's self-defeating.
It contradicts it.
Right. It's going to be the loosest, most unable to squoze asshole.
Have you seen Windy City Heat?
No.
Oh.
I know it's his. I know what it is.
I highly recommend
I
it.
will have to watch it.
Yeah.
You're in that, right?
No.
Oh, which one?
I discovered him through Windy City Heat.
Oh, okay.
But I have had some problems with him. I paid him a lot of money to promote my film First Kiss Last Yesterday.
Oh, okay.
My romantic comedy.
Rom-com, yeah.
And he didn't promote it, so I challenged him to a fight to get my money back.
Yeah.
$50 at a screening of Windy City Heat, the 10-year anniversary. I showed up in L.A. to get my money and jumped him on stage. He kicked me down the stairs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had been practicing leg lifts.
Oh, so
his legs
powerful.
are incredibly strong.
He did like a We Are Sparta thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Kicked you into the hole.
I went flying backwards off the stage.
Jesus.
And I'd been training for months.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the idea. I cut out the part. You know what I did? I cut out the part. I cut out the part on that where this is what Gavin said. He said, "Don't feel bad about Perry because he's the worst human being on the planet, and he would, if you were drowning, he would step on your head and watch you drown," which is such bullshit. And I think anybody who watches PCL knows that Perry's not that. He's not that way. He's not that kind of guy. Anyway, here's the portion I cut out.
It's wrong to punch down. The thing about Perry, you got to understand is he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He's a piece of shit. He would happily watch you drown.
Yeah.
If there was a Twix bar in his hand. Just be like, sorry. So it's okay to abuse him.
Okay, that makes sense.
This isn't a handicapped little sweet old man. This
Right.
is a fucking monster.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people think he's in on it. They don't understand to what degree.
Right. That's just it.
So I was understandably annoyed with that, and I actually sent Gavin a message after he said that, and I explained how, you know what, I would not have sacrificed a lot of things for a guy who is a literal piece of shit and who would happily watch me drown, and I wouldn't have gone, near bankrupt paying all his bills and keeping him afloat. and all these other things if he really was that way. And I explained to Gavin that way of thinking, that Perry's this piece of shit, that he's this irredeemable human garbage that deserves nothing in life, that was all orchestrated propaganda, if you will, by the old regime, where it just made things easier to make people think that Perry is this piece of garbage and, a terrible person. I'm not saying Perry's an angel. I'm not saying he's like the greatest thing ever. But he's not a piece of crap who would happily watch you die. That's just not true. And anybody listening to this right now who watches PCL on a fairly regular basis knows that. So that's what I mean when I say Gavin's really out of touch with Perry. And I think Gavin, if he would get into PCL a little bit, I think he'd get obsessed. That's how he is. And I know back when he was never really that into like Big Three podcasts, but like I would have to get him in and catch him up. Like, hey, you got to listen to these episodes. This is where it is. And then there was a point where right around that 10th anniversary of Windy City Heat, where like he just described, and Perry kicked him down the stairs. He was in L.A. He was actually staying at Jennifer Aniston's house. I remember that because he's good friends with her husband at the time. I can't think of the guy's name, but and he had young kids at the time, and his wife gave an ultimatum like, "Hey, you can't go away on these trips anymore." It was like he was really on thin ice with his wife because of that trip, and that's when he kind of dipped out of all things Perry. After that, so that's where his references end. Grimace asked if there's video of Perry getting tan. No, because we really did a really thorough job of looking for a place on the boardwalk. There wasn't a place on the boardwalk. We had to find a place, because I didn't want to wait till Perry got back to L.A. In hindsight, though, because of, I didn't realize just how dark it was going to be. In hindsight, I probably should have waited until he got back to L.A. But I think it was funny for people that were following us on social media, or people that actually did see Perry on Cumbia Live, like got a kick out of seeing Perry with his Jersey Shore tan. And it wasn't a dig at Anthony in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't even close to like a gag on like blackface. It was just really much darker than we thought. We went to one place. They said no because you needed an appointment, and we were really scrambling at this point because there was we had to get on the road. We had to get to New York City, and we were it was like 1:00 in the afternoon. We were still in Jersey, Tom's River to be exact. And then we found a place very last minute, and they were no nonsense, and they weren't going to put up with a crew of 5 guys coming in, and they certainly weren't going to put up with cameras. So we kind of just took what we got and got it done, and then headed to New York. So, yeah. But anyway, I'll work on Gavin and try to get him caught up a little bit before he does it. Because, like I said, we are going to have to reassemble in New York City at some point fairly soon in the next few months. But just for media appearances. Jim and Sam is another one that's a possibility. But I don't have any real contact information. But I heard that Jim Norton might have been somewhat interested. But that one's not a slam dunk. All the other ones are. 5 guys in a Taliban flag walk into a tanning salon. Yeah. So I like the way Anthony mentioned Perry's posse a few times. Like, oh, he's got a posse with him. And I guess we kind of did look like a posse or an entourage. But, Perry needs that. He's not walking into an appearance like that by himself. Are you kidding me? Tell him to join the Discord. I don't think Gavin even knows. Maybe he does know what Discord is. Maybe I'm speaking out of term, which wouldn't be the first time I did that. Maybe he will. We're supposed to get together for drinks one of these weeks. So whenever that happens. So like I said last week, it was actually really nice to, I thank the guy. I don't know if he's listening right now. I was almost going to email the guy because Gavin, like he shared this whole email with me of this guy who wrote in complaining and did not mask his email or whatever. And I was actually going to write the guy like, hey, you know what? Actually, thank you for writing that rant to Gavin, like shit talking me, because it kind of made us reconnect and it was nice talking to him again. Like, we didn't talk about politics or anything like that. But at his root, Gavin's a very funny guy. Really, just really funny and really good at analyzing things. And I don't, and I'm not saying that I'm anti left or right politics. I just don't give a shit about politics one way or the other. I really don't, or try not to. Sometimes there's instincts in me that like pull me back where I see something like, oh, Jesus Christ, maybe I should get a little more involved or figure out what's going on with the news, but I don't. And but he's just fine. I always had a good time with him, and he was funny, and so it was nice touching base with him again. And I have that guy to thank who wrote this long email. I don't have it in front of me, otherwise I'd read it. But I read it before. I read it on a previous After Hours. Proud Boys is a mistake, says Mitchell, and I agree. And I've said that to him numerous times. And I think deep down, he knows that, but he's got that like same thing that Perry does, that like stubborn thing where he can't admit it. But deep down, I think he knows that it was a mistake too, or it was a mistake that he let it get away from him because his original intent of that turned out to be way different, than what he devised, and kind of let some lunatics run it, and he was the absentee landlord, and then it was so out of control. But anyway, I don't know. I'm not gonna write a whole essay on it, but you're right. You're right. So, but anyway, there's going to be people that don't like, there's people that don't like it when Perry's on certain shows because they don't agree with this show, or Perry was on this show and I don't like Perry on this. There's people that didn't like Perry on Cumia, and I get it. Cumia doesn't have the the cleanest public image, but he's funny, and Jim and I both agree. Jim and I hung out with Cumia a lot backstage at Pottstown. We talked about everything. We even talked. I mean, at least I talked to him when there was another comic there. And I don't know how we got into it, but the other guy was being critical of Compound Media, which is Cumia's thing, and I jumped in with my 2 cents. And in hindsight, I'm like, I should have just shut the F up. But I said, yeah, and and he was so cool about it. He's like, oh, I don't give a shit. Yeah, that's right. He's like, he just doesn't care. He's like, yeah, you can badmouth my thing all you want. And he's just like, and I know Jim will back me up on this. Like, me and Jim separately, made Cumia laugh several times, and he just has that laugh, like, and it was a genuine laugh, and it just made us feel good, because say what you want about him, but the guy's been around a long time, and he's, he is who he is. He's been in radio a long time, and to make him laugh was really cool, and I know Jim and I both kind of enjoyed that. So I got nothing bad to say about Anthony, and I like him. So you wish Dave Landau and Cumia would team back up? What's the deal with Dave Landau? Didn't Dave Landau go to Crowder, and then kind of recently revealed all the weird shady stuff that was going on Crowder? Because I think Dave Landau came in, because I wasn't listening to Compound at this time, but I think Dave Landau came in to be his co-host when Artie Lang was Cumia's co-host for a brief time, but Artie was really, really messed up on heroin, and obviously that didn't last. And then Cumia liked working with a co-host, and I think you got that guy Dave Landau, and that went for however long it did. And then I think, what's his name? What's Crowder's first name? Why can't I think of it? I can't think of Louder with whatever his first name is. I think it's a douche. Anyway, he poached him. Oben Winston, longtime fan Tom, name change because of some internet BS, but I love you. I love you too. Let me know who you are if you're a longtime fan that I would know. Steven Crowder. Jesus, yeah. Sorry, Steven Crowder. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's kind of suffered some hard times lately. Because like that whole thing with like his ex-wife like putting out that like ring cam footage of him just being like a major douchebag. Yeah, I like Dave Landau, but I didn't think he was the greatest thing. I know he was a big Red Bar fool, for those who know Red Bar. But yeah. Oh, I won't say it out loud. I didn't know. Send me a message. I didn't know that you had any internet BS. I'm sorry that you had that. I think we've all had internet BS. But yeah, it's good to hear from you. Yeah. Crowder has issues. Landau seems like a super nice guy. Yeah. Anyway, he was saying stuff that like I saw clips of like Dave Landau, who I guess was Crowder's host or something like that, was like had all these like weird contract rules that must be followed. Like I don't know. You can't be late, and if you were late, you like I don't know, couldn't be on the show or something. I don't know, all this weird stuff. Just seems like Crowder just seems like a really weird guy. Have I been watching Red Bar since it's been back? No, and not for any other reason than I just kind of lost the rhythm with it because they took like a year off, and you know when they came back, I was just in a really bad place. You know, like stuff with my mom and stuff, and I think I went in and. Because I was excited that they came back, and I think I never watched Red Bar. I would always listen to it. I don't know how people sit and watch it for, you know, I would just listen to the podcast version, and I think I caught like the first 3 back, and then I just kind of fell off with it because it took me so long to get through those 3. Like it would take me a full week to get through one show, and I feel now if I got back anyway, could I pick it up where it is now, or do I got to go back where I left off? You know, you got to be a completist, or I always enjoyed it. I've seen clips of it, and it's just such a well put together. Like nobody has a better studio. Guy's got great taste in like cameras, and the setup is top notch, and it's great. And I'll watch clips every now and again, and I enjoy the clips, but as far as getting into like actually watching it, like thing, and then a lot of times we're just doing PCL when they're live or something like that, and like PCL takes up a lot of times. Anyway, the drawn out answer to the question is no, I don't, but I would like to think that I will at some point. It's just like everything else. I don't really have any current passions at the moment, or nothing that I do on a regular basis. I did listen to I once in a while, and I say once in a while because it's an acquired thing. But Quentin Tarantino does a podcast called The Video Archives, which is, you know, the old video store he worked at with Roger Avery, who co-wrote Pulp Fiction. And I like listening to the podcast every now and again, except they basically review movies, but it's movies that are on VHS in the video store and that they have VHS copies of, and a lot of them are just too obscure for me, and I'm not that much of a movie snob where I know the movies, and if you don't know the movies, it's not as enjoyable. But this past week they did a really great retrospective because so Tarantino did a kind of cool thing where he announced the death of Rick Dalton, who is the character that Leonardo DiCaprio played in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was my favorite movie of recent years. So they basically did a tribute podcast as if Rick Dalton was a real person, and it's part 1. It was like 90 minutes. and they really bought into it, where they go through his whole career, including like TV show episodes he did, into the 70s and 80s, film series he did, appearances that he had on Johnny Carson and like Match Game appearances. Tarantino even has a fake interview with him that he reads the transcript of, but he sells it like it's like they don't break. They don't go, they don't say like, hey, this is fun, pretending that Rick Dalton was a guy, and just I don't know, it was just really enjoyable to listen to. So I got into that. I listened to that because I just love that kind of stuff. But on the whole, that podcast is hard to listen to for me, just because the movies that they talk about are so like I don't even know them, and they're so obscure. If you were to wake up and you were 15, and this was all a dream, would I change anything in the future? I don't know. I think it'd be hard not to. How could you not change the future? Like how it'd be impossible. You'd have this like crazy memory. You'd have to have this insane memory and remember every day like what you did, and so the answer is probably no. Red Bar is podcast candy bar. Here's the other thing about Red Bar is I'm not as familiar with their like all their fools and the people they cover. Like there's most of them I only know from them talking about it, but I don't have the interest in the people that they cover on a regular basis. So, and then you feel foolish for liking anybody that they cover. Like sometimes I remember like, oh, I kind of like this person, but they're covering them and it's entertaining, but I kind of like this person and now I feel foolish for liking this person. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, I like Red Bar, and they are the benchmark for anybody that does any kind of video podcasting show or whatever. Just like the look of it, the guy must be beyond wealthy to house all that bandwidth and stuff on his own platform. I don't know how they do it. Yeah. Who'd win in a fight, Red Bar or Rogan? That's a dumb question. Anyway, I think I'm going to call it a night because I just father timed myself and saw that it was 3 a.m. East Coast time, which makes it 12 a.m. West Coast time. I think Perry's probably fast asleep. I'm gonna have to get on him every day this week to make sure he doesn't throw away those sprites. So we'll get that done on Friday for Mailbag Friday. Maybe not Tony Hawk appearance. I don't know. I actually fear for Tony's safety in situations like that. Alan asks, did Perry get laid back east? No, there was no opportunity for that, honestly, because we were so busy every day, and we all shared places together. We had a house together. Perry was sharing a room with the Snorers, which was Jim and Tony Hawk. So there was no place for that. Definitely not in Jersey Shore. And the only time that it could have happened was maybe in New York when we all had our own hotel rooms. But Perry and Jim tapped out, as Garrett said, kind of early, went to bed. And, what are you going to do at that point? There's no. If there's such a thing as hookers in New York City, I don't know about them. You'd have to maybe figure something out. I don't know. Maybe next time. Yeah. So no, it didn't happen. Even though we wanted it to happen, but once the ball got rolling on that trip, it was just it was constant motion with a little bit of sleep. When we weren't working, we were thinking about working. You know what I mean? Big beard too. Don't go to bed. I just woke back up. Sorry. Yeah, Jim, give a plug to the show on Wednesday with you and Danko. Jim says Perry banging in the same room as Tony and I would have been weird. I agree. It'll happen. It'll happen. It needs to happen. I think it'll lighten Perry up a little bit. Perry has these ridiculous high standards for himself, so you'd have to get like a high-end person, maybe a celebrity lookalike. I don't know, but I think it needs to happen. Buy the man a hooker and get her live on stream. I'd be up for that. I'd be up for that. Someone says, Tom, crew, all of you have a first-class sense of humor. Thanks, lads, and cheers. Oh, cheers to you. Thank you. That's really nice. Do I think if this was a seed, you get a warehouse and make a studio for PCL? Yeah, something like that. Like, you know, I don't know. Like, let's say we all lived in, like, Florida for something. I'm just talking out of my ass here. And, like, you had the cash to burn. Yeah, maybe a warehouse. I know that's like a warehouse or like a cheap house that we could use. Cheap house, like there's any cheap houses. But like a content house, something like that. You know, like maybe like a content house that, you know, we could all like get together in sometimes. But yeah, like a you know, a warehouse. I don't think a warehouse studio would work for PCL because I think it does have to be your home. I don't know. Isn't that what Red Bar does now? I don't think that, because I know they used to when he lived in Chicago, it used to be like a room in his apartment, and now I think it's like a separate studio that like you drive to maybe like for work. I don't know. Okay, this Wednesday it's the Rainbow Barn Grill, a voice channel on Discord, and Jim hosts a very entertaining show with his co-host Danko, called the RBG Show, where they watch old Patreon content, PCL Patreon content, of course, and other Perry stuff. And it's kind of a good get-together for... see, that's another word that Perry says all the time, get-togethers. It's not a word in my vocabulary. But, that's fun. And shout-outs to the PCL community. Yeah, Soviet says it right. You need to fill Perry's house, not a warehouse. I think there's something... He's not going to be the same guy if he's like going to work to do the stream and it's at a separate studio that's not his home. I think it needs to be his home. But I dream of the day where I could hand Perry a set of keys and it's actually a house that he owns and there's no landlord to answer to and we don't have to care about certain things and the whole world doesn't know his address. So that would be nice. But yeah, Thanks a lot to Garrett for showing up tonight. The stream is always much better when Perry has somebody else to play off in person. And Garrett was there for a long time and made that whole segment with the taste testing thing work. And was the guy that figured out that costume, because we would have never gone on the air tonight if we were waiting for Perry to get that costume together, because it looked really looked complicated. So I appreciate that. But yeah, anyway, to go back to that question about like, you know, dream stuff, it'd be great if we all lived in the same, if we all lived within like, you know, I don't know, an hour of each other, maybe something like that, where we could do the stream all in the same vicinity, you know, the same complex together would be great. I don't know. But I definitely would like to do more on location, like live streams. It's a matter of funding it and making it, you know, worthwhile, because you don't want to do trips like that where it just costs you money all the time. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Like I said, I don't know when I'll do this again. You never know with me though. I might just come back, you know, like, hey, thanks guys, I'm not going to stay long, but I just wanted to say this one thing, and then I'm on, and then I screw myself for the next day, because, you know, my work schedule is changing, and right now I can start my day work-wise at like noon on a Tuesday, which is great. But that's changing, and now it's going to be 10 a.m. So that is late for most people, but not if you're going to bed at like 5 a.m. So if he changed the number on his apartment door, would he get confused? No, I don't think he looks at the apartment door number. So yeah. Anyway, that's it. But I'll talk to you guys when obviously you'll hear me on the streams and everything like that. But as far as like an after hours hangout, I don't know. I don't know when we'll be back to hanging out like this. I know a lot of people like it. I like it because it lets me detox from the stream. I've said many times that's going to be the hard thing for me. I'm going to have to take some kind of like sleeping pill or something, or an edible or something, to go to bed like after the stream. Jim mentions Nathan Fielder. That's the thing I'd love to do, is recreate Perry's apartment exactly as it is and rebuild it somewhere else, and then make it like exactly. So if anybody is friends with Nathan Fielder and can get in touch with him, I'd love to touch it. Sorry for getting into the Star Trek weeds. I didn't mean to do that. But I've just been watching a crap ton of Star Trek Voyager lately. So I'm probably going to do that when we get off. I'm going to probably lay in bed and watch maybe whatever's on Pluto. If it's one I've seen, I'm getting to the point now where they cycle it enough where, oh crap, I just saw this recently. I don't want to do that. Love listening to you chat and do informal Q&A. Oh, thank you. That's what it's for. It's as helpful for me as it is to anybody who enjoys listening to this, because especially when he's really rough. He was pretty good tonight for the most part. He had a couple of blow-ups, very manageable blow-ups. There's times where he's been absolutely abominable. I think he's been much better lately because he doesn't have that nastiness. There was a period of time at the start of the year, for I don't know how long for a couple of months, where I just felt like Perry was nasty. And maybe this is just me, but I don't like nasty Perry. I like when Perry blows up but then kind of throws it off and can have a sense of humor about things. And as weird as it sounds, I like when Perry's kind of not in on everything, but like can roll with things, and you can kind of see that side of him, and he can kind of catch the fact that we're all kind of in this together and it's just a fun and silly stream. And you can turn it off after the stream, but sometimes he just gets in these stretches where he's nasty. And I was even noticing it when we were off the air, and he was he was just like surly. And I think we've crossed that barrier where he's not like that, at least not with me. And sometimes you guys have a better gauge of what the stream is than I do, because there's streams that I just straight up hate. It was like, oh, I hated that stream. I didn't think it was very good. And then other people like, oh, wow, it was great. Thank you for, doing it. So I don't have the best barometer for that, but that's just my take. I like Perry when he's not nasty and, surly and whatever other, synonym I could think of for that. So Peep Show. What is, oh yeah, you told me about Peep Show. I haven't gotten into Peep Show yet. I will. I got a list like a mile long of shows that I'll get into. When I eventually screw my head on right, and I am not such a robot, I will get back into, enjoying things again, or indulging in passions or whatever. Right now, the Borg in the I episode is my favorite Harry Kim. So I don't know that one. I don't know that one by title alone, but I like the Harry episodes. Don't sleep on Deep Space Nine, Garrick. Yeah, I know. Everybody tells me that Deep Space Nine is great, and I'm looking forward to the day where I can get into it. I feel like I'm going to go through all of Deep Space Nine, and it's going to take me a while. Then I'm going to finish it, and then they're going to announce that they've done this amazing high-def remastering similar to what they did with Next Generation. And I'm like, God damn it, I should have waited. Because right now it's in standard def, and that's the thing. I'm getting back into the Star Trek reads, but it's just more like overall. So in the 80s and 90s, but particularly the 90s, on shows like Star Trek The Next Generation, and even shows like X-Files and all these things, they shot on film, but they did all their mastering and special effects on standard definition video, because that's what the broadcast standard was at the time. So all of the editing and like finalizing was done on video, which is why a lot of things just kind of look the way they do. So what Paramount did with Next Generation, they did this is like 10 years ago or more. is they went back to all the original film elements for Next Generation every episode. And they weren't in episode format. They had to get like the actual takes and reassemble it the way they were in the show. And then they had to do new special effects because the special effects were done on standard definition. It's a huge, expensive process. Some of the episodes look better than others. And I don't think it was financially viable because I think at the time they were selling DVD sets and the DVD sets didn't sell great. And it was before streaming and Paramount Plus. So maybe now with Paramount Plus and if they're valuing Star Trek, because the only two shows that are not in high definition are Deep Space Nine and Voyager. And it would just take a lot to remaster all those and like put it all together. And they do it for Next Generation because that's a top tier Star Trek show, but like Deep Space Nine and Voyager is more like deep divey for Star Trek. So Vico says, baby mode, fake voice, foaming at the mouth Perry is my favorite. I don't like Sparky, calm Perry, who just shuts the stream off. Does Perry shut down the stream when he's calm? Maybe he does. Red letter Caravello live. Everybody's entitled to their favorite version of Perry. Some people like Happy Perry. Some people like Raging Lunatic Perry. You can't have the same Perry all the time, and you can't have Lunatic Perry every time because that would get fatiguing and get really old really fast. You can't have Happy Perry all the time, and you can't have I don't know. You get a lot of sometimes low energy Perry, but the thing about Perry is he's not going to give you the same Perry every time. He's going to give you a different. Jim says one of my favorite Perrys is Defeated Perry, especially when he starts the stream so confident. I agree with that, and I also like Perry who gets mad at logic. Perry who gets like, I don't know. There was something I brought up to him tonight where I was like, something he said made no sense, and then he just started blowing up on me because he understood that like, it was like one of those episodes of the original Star Trek where like Captain Kirk would try to like make a robot's head explode because he was feeding it with logic that the computer didn't want to take in. Like Shatner, Captain Kirk would say something like, it's like, oh, I'm saying that, you are a computer that is, running this planet, but you are harming the planet because you have no humanity. And then the computer does not compute, and then there'd be smoke coming out, and it would get all angry and blow up, and that's kind of like what Perry is. When his eyes dilate and he's rabid, he's the best. It's like a great movie. Yeah, you can't have that all the time. And yes, Perry is still off Instagram. You can't have that Perry all the time. Crazy Perry. Turn down the speaker Perry sucks. I agree. I fucking hate that. I hate when I can see him turning off the speaker because it's just such a defiant move. And I always try to replay something where I could tell he turned the speaker. He doesn't do that often, but yeah. I like teeth gritting Perry when Perry's in person. Not Perry's in person. Perry's like on location, like when he's in Denny's, and he's like, "Oh fuck you, you son of a bitch! I'm gonna turn the phone off." He's like gritting the teeth and like. There was one occasion. Speaking of his neighbors banging on his wall. There was one like really late stream that we did. I don't know when it was. Maybe it was like February or something. Where he was blowing up, but then he'd catch himself because he knew the neighbors were knocking on the wall, and he was doing like a very weird variation of the teeth gritting where he was blowing up, but you could see the veins popping out of every porcel of his body. That was entertaining for me. So yeah. Anyway, I could talk about Star Trek Voyager and Perryisms all night long, but business must intrude, and I must say goodnight. Thanks everybody. Thanks Grimace in particular. That was my favorite Randy to date. Yeah, I don't know how you keep topping yourself, but you do. Grimace says super authoritative about something, but he knows absolutely nothing about it. That's another great one. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you on Friday. Have a great week. Mailbag Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon. Perry's got 58 mailbags to open. Maybe he'll get through 4 on Monday. on Friday, and then we'll do the pool thing. Can I explain his ratings with the star thing? Yeah, real quick. I will. I didn't understand it at first. I understand it now. It's just he's just combining two rating systems. There's a rating of 1 through 10, and then a rating of stars 1 through 5. So he's doing both at the same time. That's really what the star rating is. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out after hours, and I'll talk to you when I talk to you. As far as maybe this will evolve into like the PCL podcast or something. I don't know, but there'll be another after hours. When that will be, I don't know. But I always love hanging out and you guys listening to me. I'll ramble. I am going to leave you with the velvety voice of Mr. J Black singing Caravello, which I teased earlier. But just listen. We're talking about voices. Just listen to this guy's voice. This guy is in his 80s. He's singing a song that he is famous for. This is a very famous song. And his voice is just perfect. And the audience reacts to it because it's like, this guy should not have the voice he has at this age. He's passed away now, so rest in peace. But just, we'll go out on this. And have a great week, guys.
Must we say